right. Good evening, everyone. You're welcome to today's class session. And quickly, how was our day? I hope so far the day has been good for those of us that are already present on the live in the class session. I welcome you to today's online facilitation class, and we'll just quickly give 10 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes for others to join. So while we are waiting for others to join, please let me quickly make a quick announcement for those of us that are live presently now, that it is important that during the class presentation, we put on our video. That's why I always have my video on. It's essential that I see the student I'm facilitating. Don't just log in and disappeared. Let's have our video on. I also want to say that assignments are already posted each week. Even though you've not seen the grade, I've not graded them, but please do it. Hopefully, before the session ends, I'm going to grade all the assignments, please. And before you submit your assignment, please convert the Word document to PDF. Please make sure you upload or you submit the PDF version of your assignments. Thank you very much. So let's give others the grace of 5 to 10 minutes, then we can begin the class. So. All right. I think we've waited for others. Is okay. It's 10 minutes, and others will meet us. I think we should continue with the class while waiting, while others will join along the line. Like I said, that today we'll be discussing application of nursing informatics. And we are on module 4, which is the last module for this semester. But module 4 has 4 units under it, which is unit 1, unit 2, unit 3, unit 4. But today in this class session, we'll be covering only unit 1 and 2. And so, like I introduced, that the title for this module 4 is Application of Nursing Informatics, and unit 1 is titled Ethics and Bioethics. So basically what we are going to be discussing in the next few minutes is actually about ethics and the principles around ethics and how it apply, or how we apply it in healthcare services. As healthcare workers, as nurses, how do we apply, or what guide our practices? We want to see those ethical principles that guide our conduct, our code of ethics in nursing. And so we've seen that the American Nursing Association have actually developed a code of ethics for nurses. I want to see those as we progress in this class. We will see those code of ethics that has been developed for nurses. We also understand that, okay, maybe before I even, before I proceed with this lecture, it's only Linda Love, can you please put on the chat what you understand by ethics? I know that the word ethics is not new to us as nurses. So can I just see on the chat what you understand by ethics? And so, while I'm expecting to see your charts on what our understanding is about ethics, it is important that I also remind you to kindly also download the instructional videos, PowerPoint that is posted on the VLE earlier today. Read it, go through it, listen to it. It's very essential. And also do your assignments that are also posted. Ethics are code of conduct that guides every professional. Very good. Thanks for that contribution. Truly, ethics are code of conduct that guide any professionals. And we nurses as professionals, we also have our code of ethics, which we are going to unpack in this class. So I'm just quickly going to share my screen on what the learning goal for this unit, the 2 units we'll be covering today. You can see I've earlier introduced the topic, which is application of nursing informatics, and unit 1 is ethics and bioethics. And so the learning goal for these 2 units are learners should be able to explain ethics and bioethics and differentiate between the 2 concepts. Also understand the various aspects of ethics and how it applies to nursing informatics. So I've mentioned that the American Nursing Association have developed a code of ethics for nurses, which we are going to see now. Ethics is a systematically examining various viewpoints related to moral questions of right or wrong. So it's just a systematic way of examining a view on whether is right or it is wrong. And in a short words, one can say that it is a moral principles or dilemma or rules or guidelines to establish what conduct is right or what conduct is wrong. And so, like I said, there are rules, there are principles, there are guidelines that helps us to know what is right and what is wrong. And so, ethical approaches may be normative. What do we mean by normative? It is presenting standard of right or good action. It can also be descriptive, that is reporting what people believe and how they act, or it can be explorative. What do we mean by explorative? That is analyzing the concepts and methods of informatics. What are the principles of information ethics? Please take note of these points. You will get a quiz on it before the end of the class. So we have principles of information ethics. The 4 principles are respect for information, respect for privacy, equitable representation, and non-maleficence. And so we've seen these principles, and we also understand that we are living in a generation or the world of social media. And we have social media, and in this era that everyone is using smartphones, and you can do a lot with your smartphone. A patient relation, family comes to the clinic or to the hospital to look at their patient while you are doing a procedure. Before you knew it, they've captured everything, both your communication and your procedure. And the next thing you see that it is on the social media. And so a lot of things happened. And you see that when you go to Facebook, Twitter, and all this YouTube, there are means of communication. There are means of communication outlets. And we see that social media and ethics is becoming an issue now. And why it's becoming an issue is because the rapid growth of social media found many of us healthcare professionals unprepared to face the new challenges or to exploit the opportunity that exists with these forms. That is about ethics. Now we are moving to bioethics. Don't forget what I asked you to note, because you will get a quiz before the end of this session. So far, are there any questions on what we've just covered on the ethics and its principle? Are there questions or contribution on it? Okay, silence means if you have a question or what you had, believing that you've gone through the PowerPoint instructional video and you would like to contribute to the class, kindly just raise your electronic end, and you will be recognized, or you put your question or your contribution on the chat. So I assume that so far we understood what I just discussed with you concerning ethics. So we move to bioethics. What do we mean by bioethics? And I'm going to, okay, sorry. Your electronic end. If you are raising your physical hand, I may not look and recognize you. Can you just put your question on the chat, please? Put your question or your contribution on the chat and it will be read. Thank you so much. So as I was saying, what do we understand by bioethics? So now we are going to bioethics, and I'm just going to share quickly with you the few slides that I have on bioethics. It is simply the application of ethics to the field of medicine and healthcare. It can also be defined as the study and formulation of healthcare ethics. Bioethics is also a moral discernment as it relates to medical policy and practices. Bioethics are concerned with ethical questions that arise in the relationships among life sciences, biotechnology, medicine, and medical ethics, politics, law, theology, as well as philosophy. Now we have fundamental ethical principles. Fundamental ethical principles. What are they? We have the beneficence and the non-beneficence. What do we mean by this principle? It's simply to seek benefits from those who work with you and you are careful not to harm them. So when you are working with people, you don't want to harm them. At the same time, you also must not be harmed. Then we have fidelity and responsibility. That is, to develop trusting relationships with those who work with you. They are aware of their professional and scientific responsibilities towards the community and the specific communities in which they work. Integrity is another fundamental ethical principles. Integrity seeks to promote accuracy, honesty, and honesty in science teaching and practice as well. So far, we've covered 5 ethical principles now. Justice is another ethical principle. And what do we mean by justice? That is, when you recognize recognition of justice, and justice qualify all people, irrespective of their class and status, to access and benefit from the contributions and have equal quality in the processes or procedures or the services that is being provided. And so it is giving a fair and equal chances to every individuals to have access to procedures and services irrespective of their class. Then we have respect for people's rights and dignity. It simply means that to respect the dignity and worth of all people, the right of individuals to privacy, confidentiality, and self-determination. And so we have to respect people's dignity, people's worth, and not just treat or talk to them anyhow. As nurses, we need to respect people's rights and dignity. Autonomy, that is, to agree to respect the right of other people to self-determination and to support independent decision making. And lastly, we have paternalism, that is, healthcare professionals making decisions about treating and diagnosing the patients. So that is the few slides that I have on bioethics. And so far, before we go to ethical decision making, let me entertain contributions or questions. So far, those of us that we are present, is there any question on what we've covered so far, or question or contribution on what we have covered so far on ethics, bioethics? Any question, any clarification, any contribution on it? Okay, before we okay, let's finish unit 1, then we will have 5 minutes quiz. Then we'll finish up with unit 2. And so we are moving to ethical decision making. When we say ethical decision making, what do we mean? At what points are we faced with challenges of making decisions on what is right and what to do in the face of a dilemma, or in a situation of a dilemma, what to do? And so it's very important that we are guided, or we are grounded on the code of ethics for nurses. It prevents us from having unnecessary litigation issues. And so as nurses, we need to know and understand in any situation, in whatever institution that we are employed, it's important to understand their code, their policy, especially with the issue of technology. It's important to know your rights and the right of the patient so you can be guided. And so I'm going to share with you the slide that I have on ethical decision making. When we say ethical decision making, it's simply a process of making informed choices. You have a situation and you need to make an informed situation, and you need to make an informed decision in a phase or situation or circumstances around ethical dilemma that is based on a set of standards. You have standards differentiating right from wrong, and you need to make a decision. And so this is when ethical decision making is very, very vital. You are in a dilemma, you have to make a decision, and it's important that you apply the ethics. The nursing ethics plays a vital role in this kind of a situation. This required health personnel to understanding of principles and standards of ethical decision making. Also, the philosophic approaches to ethical decision making, and it requires a systematic framework for addressing the complex and often controversial moral questions. And so we have ethical decision, ethical dilemma, and morals. What are the morals and the dilemmas that we face with as healthcare practitioners? Ethical dilemmas, also known as moral dilemmas, are situations in which there is a choice to be made between two options, neither of which resolve the situation in an ethically acceptable version. It arises when moral issues raise questions that cannot be answered with a simple, clearly defined rule, fact, or authoritative view. In moral dilemmas, it arises with uncertainty, as the case when the evidence we are confronted with indicated an action that is morally right and morally also on the other hand also indicates it is morally right. So we can see that it's a big dilemma when you have situation at hand and it is morally right, at the same time on the other end it is also morally wrong. So at that time you are facing a dilemma, but then you have to make a decision. So that's where you're competent as nursing ethics comes to play a role. So far that is, we've just finished discussing Unit 1, which is ethics and bioethics. So I'm going to give a quiz now, which is going to be rewarded like I've always informed us every week. So quickly on the chat for those of us that are present. So list the principles of informatics ethics. List the principles of informatics ethics. Remember during my discussion on Unit 1, we have fundamental ethics principles. We also have the principle of informatic ethics. So take notes. What I'm asking you to write is principles of informatic ethics. And the second quiz is ethical decision making. No, I think you should leave that. Leave the ethical decision making. Let me make that as an assignment. So just quickly type the principles of informatic ethics. I'm waiting to see it on the chat for those of us. Okay, let me just type list the principles, list the principles of nursing informatics, ethics. Yeah. Okay, by now you should be done. There are not many. I think there are just few points if you understand the question. Okay, respect for information, respect for privacy, equitable representation. Oh, excellent. Oh, excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that brilliant response. It's correct. You have your 5 marks. Thank you. All right, then we move to Unit 2. And Unit 2, like I introduced earlier, it's titled Applying Ethics to Informatics. So we've seen so far that we have ethics, we have the fundamental principles of ethics, we also have the principle of informatics ethics, and so we are going to see how it is applied to health, how we apply it. Let me just put it in that way, how it's applied to informatics nursing. So I'm just going to quickly share. Okay, Adeni, okay. Thank you. So I'm sharing my slide on the Unit 2, which is applying ethics to informatics. The ethical model for ethical decision making helps to manage ethical dilemmas in nursing informatics. That is, applying ethical model for ethical decision making to manage ethical dilemmas in nursing informatics. Like I said, that we are in an era that almost everyone is using smartphone, social media, everyone is on Facebook, everyone is on YouTube. Before you know it, information is communicated to people that are far from you. And so, because of this, nursing informatics has ethics. And so, what the ethics is a component of the education of healthcare managers and supervisors. That is, this ethics helps nurse managers and supervisors to guide and effectively function in terms of what is right and what is wrong. Holding the promise of beneficence, these technologies are purported to increase access, improve quality, and decrease the cost of care. Aspects of these technologies, however, create conflicts with the ethical principles of autonomy, fidelity, and justice. So we've seen that as much as technologies are good and is helping to improve and enhance nursing or healthcare services, it's conflicting with certain ethical principles such as autonomy, fidelity, as well as justice. And so in applying ethics to informatics practitioners, that is informatic nurses, are bridging continents and international panels, committees, and organizations are beginning to establish standards and rules for the implementation of informatics. This actually promises to influence the development of ethical approaches to begin to accept that the healthcare practitioners are working within international networks and must recognize, respect, and regard the diverse political, social, and human factors within informatics ethics. So we've seen that it is high time that we acknowledge, accept that we are working within international networks, and we need to recognize and accept these facts. Hence, it will improve our practice regarding technologies. Facing ethical dilemmas on a daily basis and struggling with unique client situations may cause many clinicians to question their own actions and the actions of their colleagues and patients as well. One must realize that colleagues and patients may reach very different decisions. We make decisions based on our view or our understanding of what is right and what is wrong. And so instead, all parties wishes their ethical decision based on their own view of the situation and the way they understand it. And you will see that at the end of the day, it's not necessarily that the person is wrong, the other person is wrong. It's just the way the person understands the situation and he view the situation that was what guided his decision, or yeah, the decision he made. And so far we have seen that decision making is guided by our understanding and view of the situation. And so it is very important that we have good understanding about the ethics of nursing, especially the informatics nursing ethics and principles. The goal of any ethical system should be that a rational or justifiable decision is reached. So whatever situation that you find yourself, however serious the dilemma is, it's just important that you have the rationale for what decision you are making and you can justify it. So that is very important because ethics is always there to help us. The ethics is a guide or a principle or guidelines to help practitioner decide what is right. And so if these ethics or principles have been provided, or code of ethics have been provided for us, let's use it. It helps to guide us not to go outside of our scope. And so it's important that we apply this ethics, because a comprehensive and robust theory of ethics should be up to task of addressing a broad variety of new applications and challenges at the intersection of informatics and healthcare. And so we are gradually coming to the conclusion of Unit 2. To make ethical decisions about informatics technologies and patients, it intimates healthcare data and information. The healthcare provider must be competent in informatics. This is because information technology is reshaping healthcare practices and promises to improve patient care. Healthcare professionals must then be trained and become competent themselves in the use of these tools. And what do we say? What do we mean by these tools? Remember in under Unit 1, yes, under Module 1, yes, Module 1, Units, yes, Unit 1 and 2, we cover the tools of ethics. So, which are basically the data, the information, and knowledge. So these tools, the way we use them is very, very important. For the healthcare professionals to be effective patient advocates, we must understand how information technology affects the patient and the subsequent delivery of care. And so far, before we conclude, okay, that's the few slides that I have on the Unit 1 and 2 on under Module 4. And so, any questions so far on what we have covered? Any question on what we have covered? Okay. So far, I'm not seeing any question. And so we are going to, I understand many people are not present today. Today is holiday. And since it's online, you can still attend the class. The class was not canceled because it's right in your home. So hopefully, I'm wishing the Muslim among us happy Eid al-Fitr. And so And I want learners to take note of ethical decision making. You can be asked in an exam. Please take note of that, and don't mix principle of informatics nursing. Don't mix it with fundamental principle of ethics. They are two different things. In case you are asked in an exam, please take notes. And also the ethical decision making. Ethical decision making, it's something that's very vital to healthcare professionals, and I can tell you, you cannot dodge it in an exam. You cannot dodge it in an exam. So read very well about it. The PowerPoint instructional video is available for you on the VLE. Use it, it's more elaborate there, and get yourself equipped and prepared. And so okay, in conclusion, in order to apply ethical decisions about informatics technologies and patient intimate healthcare data and information, we must be informatics competent. You see, I keep repeating this, that we need to be competent as nursing informatics in regarding to ethical issues. And so we've seen that so far there is no 2 points about it other than for us to understand the code of ethics that is guiding our practices in every situation, so that we can prevent unnecessary litigation or harm to those we are working with, at the same time protect patients as well. So far, that's where we are going to end it today. We'll meet again next week when we'll be finalizing module 4. Then we can also have a session. The last week for this in this semester will be for revision. Please prepare your question and what you need clarity on. That is, against in 2 weeks' time, we'll be having a feedback and a kind of revision on what we have covered so far in the semester. I wish you you enjoy your holiday, and thanks for joining the online facilitation class. We have come to the conclusion of this class. We see next week, same time,